name is Mary. You might remember me from Mommy and Me workout videos, but today we are doing something completely different. Welcome to Hot Ones, the show where the questions are hot and the wings are even hotter. Today I am joined by Nick, my husband, father, teacher, gamer, and today he's decided to celebrate his birthday, his 36th birthday, by doing the Hot Ones Challenge. Now, Nick, do you have experience with spicy foods?
I do. I mean, I like to fancy myself pretty good with spicy foods, although now that I'm sitting in front of all this stuff, I'm a little bit nervous that I may not be as good as I think that I am.
It makes it a little realer. Any bad experiences you've ever had with spicy foods?
Oh, tons of bad experiences. Yeah. I had a friend from work once prank me with a really spicy sauce that I'm pretty confident some of these sauces are even spicier than the one that he pranked me with, but I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm nervous.
So you're no stranger to spicy foods. Okay, the first sauce, Howler Monkey, 600 Scoville units.
Okay, let's do this. I'm just gonna take a bite because I gotta pace myself.
It's good. It's good.
All right.
All right. So Nick has been a teacher for nearly, has it been 14 years now?
Yeah.
Teacher
Years.
for 14 years. I'm sure there's been tons of different students, tons of different stories. Any special moment that sticks out in your head?
My education career?
Yes. In
Oh man, there's tons of them. I always said that I'm gonna write a book someday with all the crazy stuff that goes down. I think, like, honestly, the most bananas story that I have was a time that I can't name any names of the students, but a student of mine decided that it would be a good idea to bring a toy of sexual nature into class, and that wasn't the best part of it. The best part of it was, so when we finally caught on to what was going on, I mean, it almost looked like a coffee mug. So at first but too many students were drawing attention to it and were talking about it, so we knew something was up. So we had this student go down to the dean, and it was a dean that he's retired now, but his name was Dean Rudiger, kind of an older gentleman, and it was hilarious watching him go through the bag, and when he finally pulled it out and unscrewed the cap, and we realized just exactly what it was. That's going to be a moment I never forget. That's definitely going in the memoirs.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure that's probably a memoir for the student as well.
I bet you.
Oh my gosh. Next sauce, Pirate's Lantern, 7,500 Scoville units.
So this is like way hotter than the first one.
Yes, way hotter.
Way hotter.
Way hotter.
Oh God. Okay, I'm going to get the side that has more sauce on it. I'm doing this for real. It's for you guys. Okay. Oh, that's good. It's like a mustardy sauce.
Not as bad.
I'm going to take a second bite of that just because it tastes good and I'm hungry.
You are a self-proclaimed gamer. Whether it's
really
tabletop, video, computer. Was there ever a time that you went to great lengths to either purchase a game or a game console or participate in a game?
I went to great lengths. I feel like there's a story there that you want me to tell.
Well, we did some deep digging. Now I think this might have been, I don't know if it was your birthday or some type of celebration for a murder mystery. I don't know when this was.
Oh Lord! Oh God! Who are you talking to?
So what was it?
So it was a murder mystery. Oh man, yeah, it was a murder mystery, and the problem was, a lot of my friends growing up, we just hung out with a bunch of guys. Right. So the murder mystery had male and female parts, but the only female friends that we had were the ones that were hosting the party. So they were the ones that were running the game. So we had nobody to play the female parts, and so it came down to like who's going to play the female parts, and my friend Steve and I were like, well, we'll do it. And we're like, well, if we're gonna do it, let's just do it all the way.
As a female character.
As a female character, which included borrowing one of my mom's nice dresses. And I even took it an extra step. I thought for authenticity purposes, I might have shaved my legs.
Were you dating anybody at the time?
Yeah, you know I was dating somebody.
How did this girl react to that?
It was you. Why are you alluding? Like they know it was you. And you're like, how did this? It was you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. You tell me how you. Yeah, I remember how you reacted to it. You didn't go near me for about like 2.5 weeks while the hair grew back in because of reasons. But yeah, that man, I'm impressed. That's a good. Yeah, definitely shaved my legs and wore a dress, but I looked good. I looked really good.
I'm sure you made a beautiful female.
And for the record.
Character.
I was the one that did it.
Ooh.
So it was worth it. It was worth it.
It was worth it. The next is Son of Zombie. 24,000 Scoville units.
So 3 times. Oh, good Lord. I'm shaking. You see me? I'm shaking. I'm worrying when it's going to start to get really bad because this was delicious. It was just, I'd eat that any day of the week.
Just have that in your mind.
I don't know. Should I smell them first?
Just go for it.
Just don't smell
Don't
it.
smell
Don't smell it.
It should be all at once.
Okay.
Taste and smell all at once. All the senses.
This got stuff on it too. This is legit. Hers,
Zombie.
not legit. She's just eating regular wings.
Great chicken, by the way. Very tasty.
For the record, but oh god.
Mm-hmm. So.
Hold on now. Hold on.
Hold on.
Come here. Whoa.
I know. I'm afraid.
Okay, that hits you. That hits right in the back.
Okay.
Okay, that one's hot.
Zombie.
That one's a little hotter.
A little hotter.
But it's still good. It still tastes really good.
See,
so I'm going in. This is so stupid. Why do I keep eating more of this stuff than I need to?
So more about your gaming professionalism.
Okay.
You, a very well-known gamer in the industry, so well-known that you were a judge for a gaming awards ceremony one year. Tell us about that. So what did that entail? What did you have to do?
The Geeky Awards.
Geeky Awards.
Yeah.
Geeky Awards.
That was what? That was 2000. Shoot, was that? Yeah, that was a while back. And I was put forth. My brother, who at the time was doing another gaming convention in San Diego that ran at the same time of Comic-Con. They reached out to him and they said, hey, you're running this convention. Do you know anybody? And he gave them my name, which is weird because I'm all the way in Illinois. So most of the people that were doing this convention were in LA, they were in California, and different places. And here comes Joe Nobody, who's a teacher in high school that is going to be a judge at the Geeky Awards, specifically in the gaming division. But I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do it. Sounds great. And I was even more excited when the very first package arrived and I opened it up and it was like, I mean, I had no idea what I'd be judging, but it was like a game that I knew of that I had really wanted to play. And it was just, it was given to me. And I got sent maybe about 25 games to review.
Wow, they sent you all the games.
Yeah, they sent everything and I got to keep them. I still have a bunch of them on my gaming shelf over there.
Was there any specific games that kind of mimics what we're doing?
Hot sauce? Oh yeah. So one of them is a game called Scoville.
Scoville!
Which is about planting hot peppers and crossbreeding hot peppers to try to make progressively hotter and hotter peppers. And then you make chili and hot sauces that you sell at the market. Yeah, very much so like this. So
fun.
Yeah, it was a good experience. Never got to do it again, but that's probably because once they realized that I'm just this nobody from Illinois, they probably wanted some people that were a little bit more prestigious in the gaming community. But I got to do it once.
Cool. Yeah, you got to do it once. That's to add to your repertoire. The next one is...
When do I go for these?
Well, the next one is the ghost pepper and blueberry.
No, I'm talking about the water and the milk.
Whenever you want to. I was impressed up until this point. No milk or water. You're doing good. You're doing very well.
I want to do this justice. I don't want to just drink milk.
Don't do it yet.
I'm trying to
cool
experience it, but
try
that one was hot.
Ghost pepper and blueberry.
Okay. Okay. Is that how they try to hide it, right? They call it blueberry to make you think that it's sweet. And then they put the ghost pepper so that it is very, very painful. Why am I smelling? Why stop smelling them? It's so dumb. Why do I keep smelling them? It's just gonna smell like burning. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, it's very blueberry forward.
Okay. You can taste the blueberry for sure.
That's super tasty too.
Cool.
Oh, this is not bad.
Only 28,000 Scoville units.
What was Son of Zombie?
Son of Zombie was only
Son of Zombie.
20.
Oh, this is, wait a minute.
24.
This
So it's only
this is a slow burn.
a slow burn.
This one snuck up on me. Oh, there's the tingle on the lips. I'm going in for more. I don't care.
Good. Enjoy it. Now,
That is tasty.
before you had kids, you took your love of gaming on the road. More so your love of gambling. And you've been to Vegas quite a few times. But there was probably one year that was the most memorable. You went with your wife, that's me, and another couple. Back in 2009, you won pretty big.
Yeah.
What game were you playing?
So my game of choice is craps. And it's funny you should mention this because in one of my classes right now, we're actually learning about probability and statistics. And I probably share with them a little bit too much about my love of gaming and my love of gambling in particular.
Well, they're 21 yet, so
that's
yes.
true. Probably not the best thing to be talking about in class, but I try to make it real, and I love gambling. Yeah, I had a professor once in college who used to say that gambling and the lottery was just a tax for people who are bad at math. Now, I fancy myself pretty good at math, yet for some reason I still love gambling. But that one trip you're talking about with our friends Roxanne and Dom. Dom, by the way, who's working the camera right now, you don't see him, but he's back there. Thanks, Dom. So we went to Vegas, and yeah, we had a great time playing craps. Craps to me is
what were the girls doing?
Mostly sleeping.
We were sleeping.
I mean, mostly sleeping. I mean, like they would sleep, and Dom and I, we would go out and like have the Vegas experience of our life. And I've had Vegas both ways, where you are losing everything and going back to your hotel room ticked off because you've just wasted all your money. But this particular time, we just had a whole lot of luck. And so we would be out for hours upon hours at night, and we would just hit table after table, and we just kept winning and winning. The sad thing is I probably won more experienced players more money than I ended up.
You won other players more money.
Because like they knew the bets better than I did, so they were betting every time we were rolling. They would bet into us because they knew that we were on a hot streak. And so like I had a dude next to me that must have walked away with like $10,000. Not even joking.
Did he tip you?
No, and that's exactly where I'm going with this. Because I was always told like when you get on a hot streak and you're winning money for people might kick you some money. And this dude had like this stack of chips.
Oh my gosh.
And he never tipped me, so we walked away, but it was kind of like poetic justice because we ended up leaving the table. We came back hours later, and the guy was still there, but his chip count had like dwindled down to nothing.
Oh, you were his lucky charm.
And so I felt kind of good. Because it serves you right for not tipping me, man. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Was there a specific bet he was making?
Yeah, the fire bet.
The fire bet.
So there's a fire bet in some casinos. Not actually a lot of casinos have this bet anymore. Where it's basically, do you want me to explain how craps is played? So basically, just the better that you're doing, the more points that you get, the more money somebody earns. Up to, it's 1,000 to 1. So for every dollar that you bet, you have a chance of winning $1,000 if the person is doing really, really well. Okay. So that's how he was making his money. Wow. I wasn't betting the fire bet.
And that's how he lost his money.
Well, probably,
Because you walked away. How dare you? All right. The next wing. Pain 100%. 40,600 Scoville units.
And for the record, this is Pain 100%.
Pain 100%.
No, you said it right, but I'm just pointing out that there are Pain like 85%. There's like a Pain 90%, but we went.
No, don't.
We went full
sniff
in.
It first. Don't smell
don't
it first.
Sniff. Why is it bad?
Well,
is it bad?
You keep saying, why do I smell it first? Don't just taste it.
This has got so much sauce on it. Look at how red this thing is. I don't know if you can see that, but Oh
thick
God,
sauce.
it's so thick.
Mm.
Okay, I'm not smelling it.
Don't smell. Just dive right in.
40,000, you said?
40,000. It's nothing.
Mm.
Nothing. Nothing at all. Just think in your mind. It's nothing. Just a little spice.
Oh, it's so bad.
Mm.
What? No. No. No.
Mm.
No.
Don't put your water and milk here if you need it. Don't put your fingers in your eyes.
Where are we at? We're 5th in?
It's pretty good.
Oh boy.
It's pretty good.
That just tastes like burning. It tastes like burning. It don't even taste. Oh, I was up. Oh God. Oh God.
Doesn't
I'm
even
not.
taste.
I'm not tapping out, but
Don't tap out. Have some milk. Have some milk.
oh, I might have to be milk time.
Milk.
Holy cow!
Get some milk.
Oh, my eyes are watering. I cannot touch my eyes.
Don't.
That's the one thing I
Good thing
promised
you have
myself I
glasses
wouldn't
on.
do.
You won't touch them with glasses.
I also promised I wouldn't cry, but that promise might go away. Holy crap! That's hot. Ah, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Drink some milk. Drink
I
some milk.
got 5 deep, but this is bad.
Now, even back in your college years, you did a lot of gaming.
Oh, it's
Back
like,
then.
It's like, you just want to keep asking questions, don't you?
So excited.
Holy smokes!
I'm trying to get your
I
mind
can't
off
even
of
listen
it.
right now. Ah.
You gotta listen.
Like the milk helps for like 2 seconds. It helps for like 2 seconds, then it all comes back.
Swish it around your mouth.
It all comes back. Water is a trick, by the way. You don't drink water because all the water does is it takes the capsaicin and swishes it around your mouth so that it hits even more of your taste buds.
Even more points, yeah.
So you don't do water, even
Don't
though
do
most
water.
people, that's the first thing they go for. That's a little tip while I'm trying to get to a point where I'm okay to answer questions.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
It's fine, you can laugh all you want.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
let's go.
okay. Alright, so as I was saying, even in your college years, you were big into gaming. You did computer, tabletop, video game. But
A lot of computer back then and video games.
But you also did something that you don't do anymore. You did a lot of, I want to say this right, LARPing?
Yes, LARPing.
So tell us more of LARPing. Explain what LARPing is and if there's different genres, different forms of LARPing.
Okay,
Think back.
so LARPing stands for live action role playing. So it's essentially like Dungeons and Dragons, which most people do around the table. I can't even talk. I feel like I'm clearing my so much like spit in my mouth. Oh, so so bad. So yeah, so most tabletop gaming, most RPGs are played around a table where people are rolling dice and they'll act like their character, but there's no like actions that go on with it. LARPing is you are fully immersed. So when you walk into the room, you are your character, you act like your character, you do things, and if like stuff comes up, like if you want to challenge somebody, pretty much the way we did it is we would play rock, paper, scissors. And then whoever would win rock, paper, scissors would win the challenge, and then we would react accordingly. I personally did a game called Vampire. So vampires were really big back then. That's where the whole like Twilight craze came from. So we did it was called Vampire the Masquerade. It was actually a worldwide organization. So there were these games across the world, like India, China. Well, I don't know about China. I don't know why I said that, but maybe Japan had their own games, and we were all technically connected by one like continuous storyline, and it was fun. It was something my brother got. My oldest brother, who went to U of I with me, he was a senior when I was a freshman, and he was really into it. So he got me into it, and yeah, I got pretty good into it. I got pretty far. My character was pretty impressive, and we would travel around to different cities.
Physically?
Yeah, like physically.
Is it not just okay.
No, yeah, like there was a Champagne division,
Okay.
but then there was one in Tuscola, which was about 45 minutes away. There was one in Macomb, which was about 3 hours away. And there were weekends where we would travel 3 hours in one direction to get to a game and drive 3 hours home at like 2 in the morning.
Whoa, and you were the same character for
Yep,
every
everyone.
game, every location.
And so like you got to meet people around your area, and they would come visit your game, and so
oh, cool.
yeah, you got to make some friends, and it was fun. Would I keep doing it? Probably not. I mean, it was a good thing to do in college, but when I look back on it, it was like, I'm happy I did it. I'm happy I had that experience. Because there are other, I mean, like, you can do, like, Dungeons & Dragons LARP. Yeah, so
Nice.
that's what it was.
All right,
I know.
next one. I think he's ready. I think Nick.
I was
Nick's
trying
ready.
to talk longer, so we didn't get to this point. What else can I say about LARPing? Hold on. So no. Okay.
The next one is the bomb.
So
Da bomb.
for those of you who are Hot Ones fans, this sauce is like the sauce that everybody goes on the show and says is the absolute worst one. It was the one sauce that I said if we did this, I have to try because I have to know how bad it is. And now it's here, and I'm really regretting that decision because pain 100% was terrible.
Maybe it was the taste of the pain. The bomb could be very flavorful. The bomb is 135, 600 Scoville units.
135,000. Oh.
The bomb.
So the hottest sauce I've ever had up until this point was Dave's Insanity sauce. Now that one was a little bit hotter. That one was like 180,000. So this in theory should not be as hot as the hottest hot sauce I've ever had. But past this wing, I'm in trouble. Oh gosh, there's so much on this. Why? Happy birthday to me. Oh, my nose is running too. Oh.
Don't smell it, don't smell it.
I'm not smelling it. I don't want to do this.
Oh, that's a good bite. That was a good bite.
Oh, there's sauce on my lips. Oh, I lied. That one didn't taste like burning. This one tastes like fire. This one tastes like I just ate a piece of wood that had been charbroiled. I'm like,
Oh, burning the fire.
Oh.
Different. Yeah, it's different.
No, like wood.
Wood.
Like charred wood.
Interesting.
Oh, like I just picked up a piece of wood and I bit it.
Like a bomb. Like it's a bomb. It's the bomb.
Oh boy. Okay.
How was the flavor?
It sucks.
It
It's
sucks.
terrible.
Everything sucks. The flavor, the
No offense to the makers of people who made the bomb, but you guys are sadists.
Ooh, good job.
There's something wrong with you.
They did their
Oh,
good job.
it just gets worse. It just gets worse. Remember what I said about not crying? I think we're past that threshold.
You can cry. It's okay. Bring on the tears. Bring on the tears.
Oh, it's just
Touch your
getting
eyes.
worse.
Don't touch your
I'm
eyes.
not touching my eyes. That's
have
what the
some
glasses. The glasses are
Good,
overtaken.
Have some
It's
milk.
just getting worse.
Let the milk.
It's just getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
You're doing so good. You're doing so
Okay,
good.
I'm just adjusting my glasses.
Okay,
I know
adjust the
every time I
glasses.
go near my eyes.
You need me? I can always adjust your glasses. My hands are clean.
You haven't eaten like anything. What are you
Yeah.
doing? I'm sitting here.
I have to ask the questions.
No, I mean like just.
Oh,
aren't you
I had a
hungry?
bite. I had a bite of each. Oh yeah, it's good chicken. I might do a little bit of the holler monkey on mine.
It's good. That's good.
Oh, I know.
I think you like.
I had the holler monkey.
I think you like
It's good.
Tyrus Lantern even better.
Oh, I'll try
Because you're a
some
big
Tyrus
fan of
Lantern.
mustard.
Now, normally during this time of the show, we poll up our guests' Instagram, but Nick is not on social media. Good job for you.
Yep,
Yeah,
sorry,
stay
guys.
stay off Instagram, whatever that's called, Facebook. Good. But instead, I pulled up a different picture.
Oh God.
I want to show our audience a picture of it. It's probably hard to see.
Well,
Nick
you can take it up there. It's fine. You can take up the camera. I need time
in
anyway.
a high ropes course
Oh.
that he does with his class. At least when you do this once a semester.
That's the best one. Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to get the one of me jump kicking with a hole in my sock that your dad had for a wedding, but woo!
No.
Oh,
So,
that's easy.
so
I could
although
tell.
I want to hunt down that picture now. So tell us about the high ropes course. You do this with your students.
What happens when I run out of milk?
You can have some of
Oh,
mine. I
thank
haven't
God.
drank any of my milk. I don't need it. So you can use mine if you need it.
Oh boy. Okay. Sorry, there was a question in there. I think.
High ropes. Every year you take the kids on
Yeah.
a trip. Can we? Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So your thoughts are kind of clouded over by the
I can't
heat.
even think
The
right now.
heat.
Oh boy. My heart's going like a mile a minute. I can't even. My head is getting foggy. I can't hear you. I'm probably talking louder than I should
I'll,
be.
I'll keep the picture up.
So I go. Okay. So we just this past week on Wednesday. We went on the low ropes portion of the course, which is a bunch of team. It's just so bad. You know, it's so bad. It's a bunch of teams building activities.
Oh, team building.
Team building. That they get to work together and get to, you know, students step out as leaders and they get to problem solve. And I'm crying so bad. Like my eyes are just. I just want to. But you love it. So that is the high ropes portion. We're actually we go every spring, so we'll do this field trip again in the spring, and it's basically just a big obstacle course that's about 25 feet up into the air.
Wow. And
I mean, it's totally safe. You're on a cable. You can fall, but the cable will catch you. But it's just a whole bunch of obstacles.
You have staff that works at the location to help you and the students.
Yeah, and they make sure that you're always anchored in, so that you're never like at danger at all. So totally safe. I mean, I'm pretty good with heights. I've never really had a problem with heights, so I don't mind climbing up. But the cool thing about it is a lot of students that are fearful of it, they say that they're not going to do it. And we never force anybody to do anything they're not comfortable with. But I've seen some pretty cool things of students that were adamant that they weren't going to do it. And then by the end of the day, they're up there blindfolded, walking backwards on the course. So like,
oh my gosh, it increases their confidence so
it's
much.
pretty cool.
That's really
Had
cool.
a really bad experience on there once. So with one of there's an activity called the hourglass, which basically is like 2 ropes like this, like that, and then 1 rope like that. And so you walk along the double rope until eventually you have to swing over to the single rope. And it's very, very difficult. And I ended up getting tangled up, and I kind of panicked and thought I'd be stuck up there for the rest of my life. So I do have some moments, but for the most part, it's just a really, really good time.
Good.
I wish I was there now and not eating blazing hot wings.
But we have to move on.
Oh, no, we don't.
We have to move
No, we
on.
don't.
All right.
I'm proud of myself so far.
Oh, absolutely. You are.
I got past the bomb.
6 in. All right, next sauce is Mad Dog 357. It's called Mad Dog 357 because it is 357,000 Scoville units.
I got it. I'm gonna do this with this. Okay. That's fine, right?
All right, yes.
That's fine.
That's acceptable. Just be very careful.
Yeah, that's okay.
Very careful.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Mad Dog.
I would point out that if I held it like this, there would be a drop of this sauce that comes off of this wing. Now I'm not gonna take the easy way. Like this side is less. This side's a lot more.
Okay.
I said I'm gonna do. See, look what you did to me.
I tossed it. I go.
This is so bad.
Bite wherever you want to bite.
No, I'm gonna bite. I'm going in. I said if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this all the way. My bite. Ooh. So it's tasty right now, but I know that's not gonna last very long. It's a little bit sweet.
Really?
Like almost like a berry.
You get berry out of it.
I get berry out of it.
Wow.
What is that? Vinegar, chili, cane juice, like sugar cane.
Yeah, sugar.
Habanero, garlic. Oh, cayenne. Oh boy, it's got to be the cane sugar. Yeah, this one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's 357.
Wow.
Oh, sweet's gone.
Oh,
sweet is gone.
Comes.
Oh, sweet is gone.
Well, you registered that heat.
But I gotta tell you, this hits a little bit differently than this one hits in the back of the throat. That one was just like a bomb went off in my mouth.
Ooh, just all over bomb.
This one's hot, but I don't know. The bomb might have actually. Oh, I gotta stop talking because it just gets worse.
All right, don't talk. Well, you registered that heat on your tongue and your throat. So back to LARPing in college. That probably came easy to you since you did some acting. I'm sure because LARPing you have to act, you have to role play. I'm sure that came easy to you because you did some acting in high school. You performed on some stage.
Hey, congratulations, you finished your milk.
I finished my milk. Yay. You acted.
This is warmer than mine was. Oh, warm milk.
Just face yourself. Some shows that you acted in: Midsummer Night's Dream, The Mouse That Rolled.
I met my wife in that show.
You met me in Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream. Jabberwock and Grease.
Yep.
So in Jabberwock, you played a grandpa.
I did.
What happened when you were behind the wheel of a golf cart.
Oh boy, what did happen? I'll tell you what didn't happen. I didn't eat a hot poker. I would have
Go back
100.
to that moment. Go back to that moment.
I would have 100. Up until this point, that was probably one of the most horrifying things I've ever done. But it just gets worse. Oh my God, I'm getting lightheaded. I was seriously getting whoo. Oh man, I heard Tom laughing back there too. There better be tears or crying, man. There's better be tears or crying. So yeah, Jabberwock. Jabberwock was cool because that part was my junior year, and it was the first lead role, and it was the part that kind of everybody wanted, because the play was about this really eccentric family. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Thank you, though. I appreciate you looking out. I'm sweating so bad. So yeah, this really eccentric family, and the grandfather was kind of the craziest one of all, who would have he was in the war, and so he would have frequent flashbacks of being in the war, even though it was real world or present day. I can't even talk. Oh my God, I can't even talk. So there were times where stuff mundane stuff would be happening, but the grandfather would mentally go back to the war, and he would think it'd be during the war. So the family gets a new car, which was represented by a golf cart that actually, a real golf cart. Wow. We had ramps built on the side of the stage, so you could basically do laps around the auditorium in the golf cart. And so the scene was that they were supposed to show the family, hey, we got this brand new car, and Grandpa, crazy old Grandpa, thinks that it's a horse that he has to tame. And so he jumps in the car, and the car takes off, and I'm riding this thing like it's a horse. I'm slapping the chair, I'm hooting and hollering, talking about breaking it in. Well, opening night, the adrenaline was pumping, and even though we'd rehearsed this hundreds of times, safe driving and nothing ever went wrong, opening night I was going too fast, and I kind of just lost a little bit of control of the car. And so when I took the turn into the audience, there was a big lane in between chairs, but I took it too tight, and I essentially crashed the car into the back of a bunch of the auditorium chairs. Thank God no one was sitting in them. But I tell you, there was a couple that was sitting maybe 3 seats down from where I had crashed. And I looked up after I had done it, and I will never forget the look of horror on their face. Because the thought probably reached their minds that if they had been sitting 3 seats this way, they would have just literally gotten hit by a golf cart. But it didn't break character. They had never taught me, because I never needed to know how to put it in reverse. So here I am, crashed into the chairs had literally dented inward. I had dented them inward. The front of the golf cart is stuck, and I don't know how to put the stupid thing in reverse. And so I couldn't move. So I'm screaming at the again, pretending it's a horse, you gotta go. Well, one of my castmates who had been trained on how to use a car, who was playing the father, it's my son-in-law in the play, jumps into the car with me. He's going, Grandpa, you don't know how to put it in reverse. And I'm thinking, no kidding, I don't. Could you get up here and help me? Jumps in the car, and I guess there's a little lever right by the seat, and he kicks it back. Well, I had been jamming on the gas pedal. I am jamming on it, going, go, go, go. So when he kicked it in reverse, the thing instantly flies backwards. He goes flying out into the other auditorium seats. Again, thank goodness nobody was sitting there. And then I finally put two and two together. This stick down here was up for reverse, down for going forward. So corrected the car, kicked it forward, and we finished the scene, got off stage, and I had the biggest emotional breakdown of my life. It was I was horrified. I was like, I'm not going back out there. You can't make me. My director had to come up and get me, and he's like, Nick, you got to go out there. Like, the show must go on. We have an entire play that we have to finish. And I'm like, I'm not going out there. I was mortified. I was horrified. I was embarrassed. I felt so bad for the people that were sitting that could have potentially gotten hurt. Again, thank goodness nobody did. But I ended up going back out and finishing the play. And an epilogue to that story is the next night in each subsequent show, they had the back row and the front row of the auditorium seats roped off so nobody would sit in them. Smart. Very, very smart. Didn't happen again, but smart. Oh, good. So we've successfully talked long enough that the burn is over.
That's my goal. Okay, now we totally forgot about it. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that story. Thank goodness.
Okay.
You made it through. All right, the last sauce. Now, this is the last dab.
Oh,
we call it the last dab because it's tradition around here to put a little extra on the last wing. Okay. You don't have to if you don't want to.
But if I don't, then everybody's going to call me out on it, how such a baby I was. And for the record, this is not the official last dab. We couldn't actually get our hands on the last. This is Hellfire. How hot is this one?
So the Hellfire is 550,000 Scoville units.
Just about 200,000 more than Mad Dog 357.
That's nothing. It's nothing.
Actually, I feel, man, that's talking about Jabberwock got all this spice to go away. You gonna do it?
No.
You gonna put the last dab on? You gonna put a dab on yours?
I'm not gonna put a dab. I'll put a little dab of.
Oh God, it's so thick.
Howler Monkey. That's my place right here.
Okay. I don't. Oh gosh. I might need something to get it. Do we have like a toothpick or something that I can?
You can have your back of your hand.
No, what? No, I don't want a ton to come out. You crazy?
There you go. You got it.
It's going. It's going. It's going. It's like an old school bottle of Heinz ketchup. Good things come to those who wait. Anybody? Heinz ketchup fans? Oh God, that was such a dad's joke, wasn't it?
It's okay.
Oh,
Make
come
those
on.
dad jokes.
Here, I'll tell you what.
That's You got it. Dab it on the. Right there.
It is breached.
Right on that rim. Get that off. There you go.
All right, I just to verify. You see it?
I see it. It's there.
Hold on.
There. It is thick.
Hold on. It is right here.
Thick.
You see it? See it? Is it good? We got it? Yeah.
Okay, last dab.
It's legit, people.
Are you ready?
Hellfire.
Hellfire.
I mean, guess what this one tastes like? The devil. Oh boy. Oh boy. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just do it. Well, this is the one that smelled the worst.
Oh, it smelled bad.
No, when we were doing, I knew one of them smelled just like fire. There was this one.
You said that about everyone. It's like fire. It's like
no,
fire.
it tastes like this one smelled like fire. There's a difference.
This is wood.
It smells like fire. It tastes like fire. This one smelled like fire, but it's actually not that bad.
Oh.
So far.
So far.
Okay. It's actually pretty.
No,
and then you swallow it.
Soon.
And then you swallow it. But I actually don't taste that bad. I think this one of the top three tastes the best. Every time I talk, a new part of it hits the back of my throat.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to stick with the good old days of high school.
I think I'm okay.
I think he's okay.
I think I'm actually okay.
I think he's okay.
I did.
Wow.
I got through them all.
You did.
Holy cow! Okay.
Right, then you're gonna breeze through this last question.
Okay.
So back in high school.
Thank you, Hellfire, for not being that bad.
Wow, I thought.
Oh, there was something hot on that I just wiped on my mouth. Oh. Let's get a new one of those.
Here, I got one right here. No, you got it? Okay.
Oh no, I've got the whole roll. Thank you very much. There was something hot on that. My mustache is covered in some nasty hot. Okay, what do we?
All right, so I want to stick with high school. There's so many good stories that come out of high school. Back in, I think it was 1999, you went to prom with a bunch of people, couples and friends, me, your girlfriend at the time, and you know, very tradition after prom. You always do some type of activity, events. the group went to Chicago the next day after prom.
Uh-huh.
And you guys had a fun time. Nothing, too wild. Just walking around the streets of Chicago, going in and out of stores, eating, lunch, dinner. Coming home from the train station, your friend Steve, who wandered off of out of the group for a little while, said, "Hey, I got this tape, and you guys listened to it. What happened when you started to play this music?"
So, yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. So Steve disappeared for a little bit while we were wandering the streets, and he came back, and he was a little bit freaking out, but he was excited. We're like, "What happened?" And he goes, "This guy just sold me his demo. He bought this thing for $10, which was $19.99.
Some stranger.
Like $10 was still. I mean, that was a lot of money. Not that.
Yeah.
I mean, that $10 was $10 in '99. He buys this stranger off the street, this dude with dreadlocks, and I think the fear was that he was worried that something bad was going to happen to him if he didn't buy the tape. So he bought the tape, this demo tape, and so on the way home, we decided that we had to listen. It was an actual tape too, wasn't it? I'm not talking CD. For those of you that are too young to know,
or iTunes.
A tape is what
or
we
Spotify.
used to have to put into a tape player. Luckily, my 1997 Honda Civic had a tape deck, so we could listen to it on the way home.
It was not 97. It's probably 87. But go on.
Whatever. And so we decided that we would listen to this, and I don't remember all the tracks on it, but I do remember one specific track. And for those of you that are faint of heart, you might want to plug your ears because there's gonna be a bad word coming. But one of the title tracks on the album was "Rotate That Bitch," and so we were like, we have to listen to this. We have to. So we popped that in on the way home, and we're listening to it, and we're just having a good time. It's prom weekend. We didn't get a whole lot of sleep, so apparently we were swerving. I mean, there was no...
No, I think we were... I think my source decided that we were bobbing up and down. We were not swerving.
We were not swerving.
Were all, you as the... Nick as the
I was
driver.
driving.
He was driving. He wasn't doing anything, but the person in the passenger seat, the people in the back were all bobbing.
Like, we were going crazy because it was the most ridiculous thing we've ever heard, and he spent $10 for it.
And then what happened?
And so then... I see the old red and blue flashing in the rearview mirror. I thought it was because I'd done an illegal U-turn on a private driveway because we missed our turn off, and so I pulled to the side. I did something that said, no entry, and I was like, wow, they're pulling me over for that. But I get pulled over, and the cop runs, very nice guy, runs me through the whole, like, hey, you guys been drinking, you guys were acting a little bit erratically.
He originally, I believe he pulled you over because you had a tail.
No, that's what he will tell us much later.
Oh.
Much later in the adventure,
okay.
we find this out. So, he's shining the flashlight at us. Again, it's prom weekend. Our eyes were probably bloodshot from just pure lack of sleep. And so he asked me to get out of the car, and I'm freaking out because I've never been pulled over in my life. And I'm like, what did I do? What's going to happen? So he pulls me out of the car, and he's talking to me, and he's like evaluating me if I'm slurring my speech or something. Again, there was absolutely no alcohol involved that weekend. Absolutely no substances. But yeah, he pulls me out and runs me through all these questions, and then asks me to get back in the car and pull to a side road. And I'm just wondering what's happening. So I do. On a side note, we weren't the only ones driving. Because we went in a big group, we had 2 cars.
Because we all had seatbelts. We all had to put on our seatbelts. We
were very responsible. But the people in front of us, instead of stopping with us, oh no, they took off. And then later in the night would tell us, like, oh, that's weird, you got pulled over. We saw the people behind us get pulled over too. And we're like, you think? Anyway, he pulls us to the side of the road. And he's now he's like looking at everybody in the car. In the back seat, it's my friend Steve, his date, and he's shining the light in. Well, the windows are rolled up, and he's asking questions. And my friend's like, I can't hear you. I can't. Until eventually he rolls down the window like this, by the way, because again, like, you had to crank the window. That's how old I am. Cranks the window down, and the cop goes, I've been waiting you to roll down that window, son. And without missing a beat, Steve says, I'm sorry, sir. It's my first time. Like, voice crack and everything. It was hysterical. Oh, it was so hard not to laugh. But then actually, so he goes and he questions kind of everybody in the car. And then finally, I mean, like, this has been, what, 15, 20 minutes had gone by?
It was a long time.
It felt like an eternity. Then finally, he turns to me and he says, well, the reason I pulled you over is because you have a broken taillight, and you're going to need to have to get that fixed. And I was like, what? That's why, what? I was relieved because nothing happened. I didn't get a ticket or anything. It wasn't for anything illegal. Broken taillight. Pulls us over, goes through the whole thing, pulls me out of the car. It interrogates the entire car. And all it was for a broken taillight.
He was probably just doing his job. Good, for the cops to do their job and make sure the road is responsible.
So that was my run-in with the police. Hope that never happens again.
And you know what? You completed
it.
You completed the Hot Ones Challenge, Nick. Happy birthday!
Oh, thank you.
Right.
I want to thank you for putting this together, for being such a good sport.
Yes,
your questions were amazing. Thank you, Dom, for filming. I also want to give credit to the actual Hot Ones First We Feast channel with the show Hot Ones that inspired us. Go check it out. I don't know if this is going on YouTube, but if it does, hopefully we'll post a link in the description. You can go check out Hot Ones. It's hopefully very similar to this, although I'm sure their editing and their equipment is a lot better than ours. But you can go check them out. But credit to them. Really, really inspired to do this. Glad I did it. Hope to never, ever do it again.
I'm glad I didn't do it. I feel great.
Cheers to everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you. Please subscribe and like. Comment down below. Would you do this? How far would you go? Would you try this? Would you go all the way to the end? Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.